Hey, this is DeadTurin here, lead playtester of Black Magic Labs, and today we're on our second part of our Thursday double take, all about giving our opponent hard choices and giving them the worst ultimatum ever. Today we're previewing Ultimatum or Bust. This deck, as well as the last deck, is built around Emergent Ultimatum. This card's really good. It's really insane. It's double black, triple green, and double blue. They made some good choices on this card because it is so powerful. That fact that it can only search for color, the fact that this card gets exiled, the fact that your opponent gets to send one of those cards back, those are all good choices. 3 cards would be too many. Multicolored cards would just be ridiculous. And if this stuck around your graveyard, that would also be ridiculous. So this card's really powerful. It's borderline busted. It might get busted and it might get banned later depending on what the new sets offer up. But right now it's still just a powerful Magic card. It hasn't crossed that line yet. Now the other deck is focused on wishing to get to Ultimatum. This one we're not going to do that. This one we're just going to play 60 cards and we're going to try and go find the Ultimatum, or we're going to lose. That's pretty much it. It's find the Ultimatum or lose. That is the course of action here. It has a more traditional sideboard and a more traditional deck. So we're going to have course 2 of Valky, God of Lies, and on the flip side it's going to be Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter. Valky, God of Lies is 1 and a black for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, your opponent reveals a hand. You exile a creature card from their hand, and then you can pay X, where X is that creature's converted mana cost, to make Valky into a copy of that creature. When Valky dies, they will get their creature back to hand. This is going to be an early card blocker. Otherwise, really what we want this for is the flip side, which is Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter. It's 5 and Rakdos for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Gives you an emblem when he comes on the battlefield. You don't gotta work for it. You don't gotta suffer and hope that he stays alive long enough to make it to his emblem. Nah, you just get it. And that's just wonderful. So his +2, you exile top card of each player's library. His -3, you exile target artifact or creature. And its -egg is exile all cards from all graveyards, add triple red. So what does the emblem do, you might ask? How does it relate to all these other abilities? Well, you may play cards exiled with Tibalt, and you may spend mana as though it's mana of any color to cast those spells. So you +2 it, you get 2 for later cards. You -3 it, you get an artifact or creature for later. And -8, you get everybody's graveyard cards for later. Your opponent has something really powerful in their graveyard. This card is really nice. It's insanely powerful. The fact that you get exile all graveyards and cast all the cards that I've already cast again is just awesome. This card's going to be one of our primary targets for Ultimatum. The other targets are going to be Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. This is 4 and double green for a 6/6 trample haste. It's a legendary creature. It's a Phyrexian Praetor, which is a cool little creature type. I like that a lot. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many counters of those kinds on those players or permanents instead. And if your opponent would do the same, they put half as many rounded down. Wow. Guess what? They play a planeswalker, they get half the counters. They cast Ugin, well, you get 3 counters. You know, they play a Saga, maybe they try to kill you with a Binding of the Old Gods or a Elspeth Conquers Death. Well, Vorinclex is out, not gonna happen. Because when that enters, it enters with 0 counters, because half of 1 rounded down is 0. Their Sagas won't trigger. Their creatures aren't going to get counters, and at the same time we're going to double up. So what does that mean? If we get those 2 together off the Ultimatum, we're going to have 10 counters on Tibalt already. So that's a really powerful combination. And then lastly, to make that combination more powerful off the Ultimatum, we have Alrund's Epiphany. For 5 and double blue, you get to create 2 1/1 bird creature tokens. They're really ravens, but Magic doesn't care. All birds are the same. Those tokens have flying, and then you take an extra turn, and then you exile this spell. If you didn't exile this spell, we would have more shenanigans, especially off of Tibalt, which would have been insane. Luckily, and hopefully, Magic has learned their lesson, and they won't take extra turn spells that shuffle back into your library, as that was just awful a few standards ago. That card. I hated those decks. I hated that card because they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing, and they proceeded to win by taking infinite turns doing nothing. I will mill you out eventually one day. Oh, it was awful. I hated it. I just absolutely hated those decks. Anyways, you can also foretell this and then cast it for 4 and double blue, so 4 or 1 discount, which is also nice. Those are going to be our primary targets for the ultimatum. How are we going to get to the ultimatum? Well, we're going to play Wolf Willow Haven. This is 1 and a green. It's an enchant land, and when that land is tapped for mana, its controller adds a green mana. You can also pay 4 and a green, sacrifice the Haven, and create a 2/2 wolf. We're going to hardly ever do that, only in the most dire of circumstances, or if we just need a win con, that is what we're going to do. Otherwise, it's more useful as mana. We have Saw It Coming. This is a double blue and 1 for a counter target spell, so it's just your typical cancel. But if you foretell it, well, guess what? It's now a superior counter spell. It's 1 and a blue instead of double blue or anything. 1 and a blue for a counter spell. Whew, that is awesome. So yeah, you're going to have to put 4 mana into this resource to make it 1 and a blue, but that does allow us to do some nice easy countering and set it aside out of our hand to keep it safe from being stripped from it. Then we have Cultivate. You search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. One's going to go into the battlefield tapped, the other one's going to go to your hand, and this is 3 and a green. Pretty straightforward ramp spell. I wish we had something similar to Rampant Growth instead, but we got Cultivate. Maybe after rotation, they'll give us maybe an M22. They'll give us Rampant Growth. That would be real nice. I would love to see Rampant Growth return to standard. I don't think it's too powerful. It might be too powerful with Cultivate, but if they do it in M22, the rotation of M21 will happen pretty soon afterwards, and there won't be that long madness. I mean, there's always madness when the 2 core sets are out together. There's just too much magic, too many magic cards to choose from, too much magic. It does get insane anyway, so I think that would be fine to give us back. Rampant Growth would be really nice to have, but Cultivate's Rampant Growth plus Lay of Land on the same card for a little bit for the extra cost, so that's not too bad. We're going to play 4 Extinction Event and 4 Blood in the Snow to keep the board free and clear of many creatures that's possible. Extinction Event is 3 and a black. You choose odd or even, and you exile each creature with converted mana cost of the chosen value. We don't have any creatures hardly in this deck, so we don't care. We're just going to exile what is the most effective to keep our opponent down and out. And then Blood on the Snow. This is awesome. This card is amazing. I like this card a lot. Destroy all creatures or all planeswalkers. It's just sweet. Destroy all planeswalkers is a nice ability. It's not necessarily the most useful, at least in standard right now, but I liked having that ability, especially if maybe the only relevant threat your opponent has out is planeswalkers like a Nugan or whatnot. This card is really nice. And then you can return target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost X to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow mana spent to cast this spell. So if we cast 6 snow mana, we can get back Vorinclex. So that's pretty nice. This one is not going to be able to do it as easily. We only have 6 snow lands in the deck. It's a little bit more focused as far as the mana base goes. We have less tapped lands because we're ultimatum or we're busting. So that's the strategy of the deck, is we're just going to ramp, and we're going to ramp fast and hard. And if we have the snowlands, we have the snowlands. Something I didn't mention the other deck, something to note. Put your Wolf Willow Haven on a snowland. Please, for the love of God. Put it on a snowland, because then it'll add snow mana, and we can Blood on the Snow and get back our guys easier. So that's nice. We have an extra Vorinclex in this version of the deck. We have 2 in this deck to make sure we always hit Vorinclex off our combo. We don't have Fae of Wishes to act as backup, but we don't have that kind of extra ability. This is a 60 card deck. We don't have a whole lot of cards in this deck in comparison, so we do need the second one because we have to be able to hit him, and if we draw the 1 and then we don't have it in the deck, that's just not good in this version. So all our main targets are going to be 2 of. We're also playing 2 Shark Typhoons in the main. This is a really nice good target off of the ultimatum if we need to. We can put this down first and then we cast the other spells. So that's nice. Grab ourselves a shark and get a very powerful spell. That's really good. It's 5 and a blue for enchantment that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, which is most of our deck, you create an X blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You can also cycle it for X and a 1 and a blue, and when you cycle it, you get an XX shark token creatures. This is nice as it's an uncountable creature if we cycle it, as well as it's just a token generator. No matter what we do, we play any spell, we make a token. Really nice. And then Seagate Restoration. This is 4 and triple blue for a bolt land on the flip side, and on the main side we got draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. You have no maximum card size for the rest of the game. So this is another spell we can find with Emergent Ultimatum should we need to get some more cards to hand, if we need a board wipe, or if we just need to, if we're playing control and we need more options, maybe board wipes aren't very good and we need to get some extra stuff into hand. So that's pretty straightforward. The main deck's pretty simple actually in comparison to the other one. We got 2 snow-covered islands, 2 snow-covered swamps, 2 snow-covered forests, and then 4 of each of the flip lands, and then the Sultai Triome, of course. You could cut this Triome down to 3 and add one of the Triomes that's also a forest that adds red, like the one we have in the other deck, to make sure you can cast Cosmic Imposter out of your hand. However, I just want perfect mana. I'm a little greedy. I'll think about adding the red in. I haven't needed it. I haven't had a time where the ball's in my hand and I really just want to, I don't want to cast him out of hand. A lot of times I just find him off the ultimatum and win. We have all 4 ultimatums in the main. It's easier deck to find him. We have a lot of ramp. It's something you can think about though. Now the sideboard is also straightforward. 3 Disdainful Strokes, 3 Negates, 3 Withered Runestones, 3 Midnight Clocks, and 3 Ugin Spirit Dragons. So Disdainful Stroke and Negate are going to be for the mirror match as well as control. The other deck is just going to try and outwish the mirror match. This one we are going to bring in Counter Magic. So 2 different strategies. The other one has no problem outwishing them. We just get more options, more ways to destroy their stuff with all the wish cards in the deck. This one doesn't have the wish cards, so we're going to need counter magic. Between these and the Saw It Comings, we will have 10 counter spells in the main if we choose to do so. This allows us to compete with control and the mirror very well. Withered Runestone is going to be for decks using other ultimatums as well as decks utilizing graveyard strategies. We'll stop them from playing cards from the libraries or their decks, and we don't really care because this doesn't play from your deck. It exiles it first and then you play it, so that is perfectly fine. Midnight Clock, of course, is going to be for the rogues match or the other mill deck matches. The other deck is playing 80 cards. We don't really care about the mill action. This deck will care about the mill action, so we will use Midnight Clock. Midnight Clock is not a bad inclusion in the other deck's Wishboard. If you're finding that blue-black rogues or mill-based strategies are causing you problems, and maybe they're milling away all your answers and you're having a hard time. Ultimatum, I have not found that to be the case, but I haven't faced a whole lot of rogues with that deck. I've faced a few, and generally I can just outpace them but maybe not. Maybe I haven't faced enough to really see it. Maybe there's some other mill strategies that are more powerful. So Midnight Clock is worth an inclusion in that deck if you find you're being milled out. And then Ugin the Spirit Dragon, of course, because powerful planeswalker, can't be fetched with Emergent Ultimatum, so it's not in the deck, but it is a powerful card, and if we need more board wipes, we can put this in. Or if we just want to stick it to control, we can take Emergent Ultimatum out of the deck. We don't need that combo to win, and we can turn this into a ramp into Ugin deck if we need to. So that's always another option in this deck. I like out of the sideboard. This is obviously, in my opinion, the weakest card in the sideboard. So if there's 3 other cards you want, maybe you want some Agonizing Remorses or some other card that can be put in here instead of Ugin. So this deck's a lot more straightforward. The goal is simple. The other deck, we have the Wishboard, we have all these other strategies and abilities and ways to win. This deck is winning. It's Ultimatum. We're winning off Emergent Ultimatum, and that's why it's called Ultimatum or Bust. The strategy is just to ramp, play Emergent Ultimatum. That's the goal. It's a little bit more consistent, the other deck, but it also is a little weaker in game 1 and game 2 sometimes against other decks. The other deck will play more consistently between all games, whereas this has a little bit stronger game 1 because it gets to Ultimatum quicker, and it's a little weaker in some other regards. We also can't fish our Ultimatum out of our deck, which is a little disappointing. You could take out maybe some Blood in the Snows if you wanted to put Wishclock Talisman in. That's not a terrible option. I just like Blood in the Snow a lot. I think we need the extra board wipes to stay alive. Getting 6 mana is not hard with all the ramp we got in the deck, so that's the deck. We'll see how she plays. As always, like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. Also, please consider supporting Black Magic Labs on Patreon. Thanks.